Thanks for tuning in. This is TED Talk. Not all things real estate, but today we are going to focus on some real estate. And I'm here welcoming Birgit Anich from BA Staging. And she is the CEO and creative director of BA Staging and Interiors. And she has a numerous national and Hobie Awards winning home staging company. Birgit's a trendsetter, right? She is my go-to stager, and she's a trendsetter in the industry. So thanks for being here, Birgit.
Thanks so much, Ted, for having me.
Of course. So Birgit and I, just to give a little context and some background, we've done 6 stages together. So I pulled all.
Is it 6 already?
It's been 6 already.
Oh wow,
I know.
Nice.
So she's never gets sick of me. Hopefully, on average of the 6 stages we've done over the past, I would say 4 years. What we started working together, maybe 3.5, 4 years. On average, my listings have sold for $72,000 and change above asking. So that's on average over 6 listings, which is really good. The last 2 stages we did together, the last 2 listings I've had, Birgit staged both. The last one closed about a couple weeks ago here in Stanford, and that went for 15% over asking price. So that was well over $100,000 over asking. And coincidentally, we have a closing today. From a stage that Birgit did, and
Nice.
That is going 16% over asking, well over $100,000 over the asking price. And that one was I think that was a really good stage because Birgit went in there and actually did a consultation with the sellers on what they needed to do to get the house ready and prepped pre-staging.
Correct.
So can you talk about that a little bit and how that process worked?
I really loved that project. It was really cool because the client called me up. You referred me to the client, and then the client called and said well, can you come in for a consultation and see what we can do? It was really cool because the house has quirks. It was an older house. It is on the main road here in Stamford. So lots of traffic, and obviously the location, because of that, was not so conducive for being the most desirable location. But it had so many cool things to it because it was an older home. Not everybody wants to have those new properties. But at the same time, if somebody has lived in the house for 35 years, or it wasn't even 40 years that the person had lived in that property, obviously it shows the age, wear and tear, and all the fixtures and everything that have been outdated. So when we bring in the new buyers, when we put the house on the market, we want to make sure that the property is market ready and in the desirable condition for buyers to even want to come and see the property. Mm-hmm. So during the consultation, I went through with the buyer, and we looked at everything from where are opportunities to increase the perceived value of the property, to update and upgrade the house. So we went from paint colors, we did do lighting fixtures replacement pretty much throughout the house. We did do the front door color change. Even the shutters on the exterior of the house we changed. Some minor bathroom upgrades, but really just minor because we knew the bathrooms were quite dated and they probably at one point need to be completely renovated. However, what we wanted to do is doing with minor investments, get those bathrooms ready so buyers, when they come into the property, they say, oh, I can live with this condition for the next 2 years maybe, and until I have again adjusted to the new financial situation, and then I can tackle that particular project. So that was our goal.
Yeah, and Birgit did a great job on that project. I know that project had its challenges. She talked about location, she talked about condition, age of the house. Many buyers today want new, everything new, and they're willing to pay premium for new. So how do we replicate that in an older house? It's the easy answer. You bring in Birgit. She does a consultation. She, from paint colors down to, changing lighting fixtures, little things that when buyers walk into a house, they can picture themselves there. And it really elicits a emotional response, and that's what we're going for.
Well, it's a very strategic investment suggestions that we bring in. And initially, the client didn't really want to move forward with all the suggestions. I know they consulted them
I
with
got
you.
a call, and my client was freaking out. He goes, "Oh my God, she wants me to spend all this money doing all this stuff." So I told him to take a deep breath. I said, "Let's go through the list together and let's prioritize. I think
Yes.
what's the most important things."
So, and that's what he did. But then as the renovation, so I suggested to him also like a contractor who was really making the process very easy for him, so he didn't have to be involved in everything. But as he saw evolve that how things changed, he saw like really all these suggestions that Birgit did are really necessary, because all the things that I didn't initially want to do now stick out like a sore thumb.
Yep.
And it really does not make sense not keep going and doing everything what Birgit suggested. And he did do a fantastic job. He really believed in me and my suggestions, and really took it down to the finish line and then down to the staging. So the staging then also helped then really define every single room.
Yep.
And then one of the goals was also because we are on the busy road, we wanted to keep the eyes inside of the property with the strategic staging, with strategic positioning of furnishings and so on, and accessories and artwork, to make sure that everything is focused on the inside of the house rather than traveling to the outside and being reminded, oh, you are on this main road.
Absolutely, and that worked. We went live on a Friday, and I held open houses on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, strategically, right, on a Friday afternoon or Friday mid-morning. And I would say between those 3 open houses and private showings, we've had over 125 potential buyers walk through the home.
Oh, wow.
And we ended up having 12 offers, which is great. I was expecting more, but I think, being the location where it was, and then, buyers kind of having a little bit of buyer fatigue from all the, highest and best and the, other buyer competition, I think might have scared some other offers away. But at the end result ended up being 16% over asking. And, when we did our post-op with my client and we went through sort of what worked, what didn't, the one thing he said to me was, if I hadn't made all those changes and I put the house on as is, he goes, I wouldn't have even gotten what we listed it for. We would have been talking under that, and he got $100,000 over what we listed it for. So that small investment paid off for him big time.
I think like overall, if I understood it right, he spent like about $25,000 total, including the staging.
Yep.
And then he got like 106.
It was like 106 over, yeah.
Over asking. So if you calculate that through, that's 418 or 28% return on his investment.
I don't know, I'm not good at math.
Everything together. I would like to know, is there any other financial investment out there that gives you within a month's time this kind of return of investment?
I don't think so. And, before I met Birgit, and really when I was newer in the business, I didn't believe in staging, right? I said, if we price it right, put the house on the market, I do my marketing, I do my thing, it's going to sell. And yes, for the most part, the houses sell, especially in a seller's market, right? But the goal is not selling the house. Anybody can sell a house, right? The goal is maximizing output or maximizing profit for the sellers.
Well, the profit for the seller is not just in terms of like the numbers that we just mentioned. It also like the days on market, because you don't have like the days on market means also the sooner you sell. That means also less mortgage payments, less recurring costs that you have, all the taxes and everything that adds up in addition to that extra dollars that you get in the higher sales price.
Yep, that's a good point, because the longer the house sits on the market, buyers start to question, well, what's wrong with the house? And that potentially could degrade, your selling price later on. So good job there. Kudos to that.
Well, it's a team effort.
100%.
If you didn't introduce me, right?
Well, that's what it is, right? It only takes an introduction, and then it's and then Birgit takes it from there. So she's my resident expert. She's my SME, my subject matter expert, where she comes in and, people are like, well, what should I do here? I was like, talk to the expert. Because this way they don't get pissed off at me, they get pissed off at you. So So you've staged everything from like entry-level homes, you've done condos for me, to multi-million-dollar, properties, high-end luxury properties. How does your strategy change as price point and buyer profiles change?
There are basically two things. One thing that's always where we start out, the starting point is always the same. Doesn't matter whether it's an entry-level point, whether it is a multi-million-dollar property. We always want to understand who is our target buyer. I know a lot of people think, staging is like making it appeal to the vast majority of everything and everybody, which is a very outdated way of staging and very outdated way of thinking. Every marketing strategy is not appealing to the masses. It's appealing to a specific target audience. And that's the same thing with real estate. So what we want to do is we always collaborate with the realtor, want to have a conversation. We also do our own research on who is the most likely buyer for this property. It could be sometimes two different demographics. It could be like the downsizers on one end of the spectrum and the initial home buyers on the other spectrum.
First-time home buyers.
First-time home buyers, yes, sorry. It's our job then to translate that into the staging design. But what the difference is then is a bit different, the lower-end homes versus the multi-million-dollar homes. It comes down to really what we bring in. We specialize in unoccupied homes, so we work with our own inventory.
Wait, so you're telling me you won't stage a home with dogs and cats in it?
No.
She's tough, man.
We do staging consultations, DIY staging consultations for those kind of scenarios, but we don't let, because of protection of our inventory, we don't let.
Okay, that makes sense. So we don't want like little kids running around with like juice bottles and.
Exactly.
Yeah, gotcha.
We have like so much investment in it, so we want to make sure it is always in pristine condition for the next property.
Makes sense.
So then the level of luxury depends on where the house is, where the price points are, the level of sophistication of everything that we bring in, the number of layers. Different demographics have different taste levels and different sophistication levels of what we need to bring in. So we take that into consideration through the level of inventory that we put in, the trends, like the luxury market is typically the onset market for new trends. So the more trendy, newer items will first go into the luxury market until the mass market starts like taking on and catches up with those new trends. So, and then we will have that transition into the lower end properties. And then the other thing is like for the layers, as I said, what else do we do differently?
Well, I don't know. I'm not a stager, but I can tell you from we did one. I brought her in. I'd gotten a listing that was a call from a seller. And this happened to be in New Canaan. It's a very high-end town. The property was a little bit outside of town, sort of at the edge of town, and those properties don't tend to sell as quickly as ones that are like right in town, walking distance to the train and the schools and whatnot. So that house had been on the market for over a year with multiple price reductions, and the seller had gotten my name from somebody and called me, and immediately I called Birgit. And I introduced Birgit. And, these people put the house on as is. The husband, I don't know if you remember, was adamant. He goes, I want so much for my house, and I don't want to, invest a penny into it. So Birgit was instrumental in helping these clients understand that making a small investment to spruce up their property was going to change the whole buyer outlook and perspective from a marketing standpoint, because now it's going to look like, hey, that house is on the market before I've seen it. And many people came to my open houses and via private viewings. I even threw a party there, if you remember, chocolates and wine. And many people said to me, wow, what a transformation. This house looks completely different. And the end result ended up being on that property is it sold actually quite quickly. I want to say within 30 days. We had multiple offers, and it went over asking. I think it was like 7 or 8% over asking. So staging works. and I'm a huge believer in it.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So the other thing that I wanted to mention, now I lost my thought, I found my thought again, is like what the other thing is what we always take into consideration, regardless of the property, is also the finishes of the property. What is the architectural features and what is the style that we need to bring in. So that is also a common denominator throughout all the thing. We bring in the colors, we repeat colors that are maybe in part of the architectural elements.
And I'm glad you brought that up because it reminds me of something I wanted to say about that particular example we just talked about. In that part of New Canaan, they're known for their mid-century modern homes. So this house it was like a ranch, wasn't necessarily a mid-century modern, but it was built in the 50s. So you can, categorize it as and I said, look, I want mid-century modern seating and like decor. So, we had a little back and forth, but I did get something out of it, right? I did get those chairs. What do you call those chairs?
The Eames chairs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Love those chairs.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to buy them, but she won't sell them to me.
They also had Barcelona chairs in there too, I think.
Yeah, it was a great. That was a great stage. That was a great one. So, as kind of like I think about whenever I'm asked about staging, the question I always get is, what rooms matter the most? Yeah. So, is it the rooms that everybody says, oh well, kitchens and bathrooms sell houses? But I don't know. You tell me from your perspective.
Well, kitchen and bathrooms are important. Yeah. Because they are like definitely the highest investments to redo them for buyers. So, and buyers don't want to buy projects. They want to have everything in move-in ready condition. But from a staging point of view, what we always recommend is definitely the main living areas. So it's like living room, family room, dining room, casual dining, kitchen, primary bedroom. Primary bedroom is really important from an emotional connection point of view.
Of course, that's where all the fun happens.
Exactly.
For some people, anyway.
So, and then the bathrooms are also important. Just they often don't need much. They need just little accessorizing. So it's just you feel warm. It feels good. So these are the most important. And then other rooms that are having a very small footprint or a very awkward shape. Those are really important too. And keep in mind, vacant rooms or empty rooms always appear smaller than when you have furniture in it.
That's true. Yeah.
Most people think it's the opposite, but it's not.
No, I've seen that and I've heard that. And obviously, working with buyers when we're looking at rooms, we can also tell. So yeah, and just to kind of piggyback off what Birgit said, the highest impact room that needs to be staged unequivocally, without question, is the first room you see when you enter the front door.
Yeah.
That's where the emotional connection happens for a buyer. And they say, when you meet somebody, right, they know within 5 or 10 seconds whether they're going to, like you or not. Yes. And I think the same is true with a house, right? You know immediately when you walk in whether you're going to love that house or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a question on trends. What trends are you seeing right now in buyer preferences, right? And which trends do you actively avoid because they don't age well in photos or in showings?
Yeah. So trends, like I still see a lot of like the white oak kind of look. And I still see that a lot out there, but I feel...
So white oak, like the flooring?
White oak flooring, white oak in cabinetry. It's often like the white walls, like the white on white, I call it. For me, it's everything. This is kind of white on white. I still see that still as a strong trend right now, but I feel like that trend is going to slowly phase out. It's going to be replaced with something that's going to go more into the brown tones. The walnuts, I love. By the way, I do love walnuts.
Walnut.
Oh, I love walnuts.
Yeah, walnuts are good.
So warm, and it's
you're talking about walnut color. I'm talking about the nuts. Love walnuts on my ice cream. I was
thinking of food, right?
I love walnuts on my ice cream. A little hot fudge. Anyway.
But walnut is so pretty, and the brown tones are coming in. We are no longer as much like the stark white walls and everything. It goes into the more earthy, in the warmth kind of. People are craving again after this very white phase now to have something a little bit more relatable, more warm. and soothing kind of palette.
Yep, that makes sense. Here's what I'm seeing a lot in every remodel, in every new construction. I see it everywhere, and it's driving me nuts. Is this trend going to continue, or is it going to phase out? The white quartz with the gray veining in the kitchen. Like,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that?
I think there is coming in, like when you start working now, let's say like the walnut is coming, like the browner tones are coming in. I think there will still be like a creamier version of it, rather than the stark white with the gray. It's probably gonna more like Taj Mahal kind of, where you have like a little bit of the beigeish undertone with a little bit of more brownish or like beigeish veining. That is very pretty. And I think there could be also like more darker kind of countertops that.
So you think dark, because dark was in years ago, right? And not that long ago, but maybe 7 to 10 years ago, dark was in.
Yeah, but that was very different. That was more on the, almost like on the blackish kind of wave. So now we are going more into the browner.
Brown, okay. So it's making its way back to brown. So gold hardware, stainless hardware.
Gold.
Gold all the way. Gold looks nice, making a comeback.
Yes.
And I've seen
it is warmer.
Yeah.
It's warmer. It's not as cold feeling. And especially in combination with the brown tones, it is really pretty.
What are your thoughts on wall-to-wall carpeting?
Wall-to-wall carpeting? No.
No, they feel so good on the feet.
No.
No, it's all hardwood all the way.
Hardwood.
So I'm seeing a lot of the vinyl that looks like hardwood.
Yes.
I guess that's okay if you're not in a high-end luxury home.
Or you have it like maybe in a basement setting.
Yep, I've seen it in the basements.
I think that's a very good alternative there.
Yep, okay.
So definitely.
So here's the question that everybody's dying to know, right? For homeowners who can't fully stage a property,
Yeah.
what are the top 3 impact moves they can make on a limited budget, whether they decide to stage or not?
First of all, if it's a homeowner who has, the house is not a new construction home, obviously, then they have lived in it for a while, make a reassessment through the property. Where can I update? Paint is always the cheapest and most impactful update that you can make, and it refreshes the house so much. It's also from a smell point of view, because buyers buy with all 5 senses. They don't buy just with their eyes. They don't buy just with rational thinking. They really like use all the senses. So smells come in too. And the freshly painted room just has that crisper, fresher feel to it right away.
So cigarette smell out.
Yes, that's not even a question. But then the other thing is also look at your lighting fixtures. Are they updated? That they're the jewel of the home. There's like jewelry, like look at my jewelry kind of thing. So yes, it is definitely, they can make a big impact. The other thing is kitchen cabinets. Kitchen cabinets, it depends on the kitchen cabinet itself, but sometimes just painting them and replacing the hardware on the kitchen cabinetry can make such a tremendous impact, even if you don't change the countertop. But again, countertops are also...
Well, speaking of kitchen cabinets, if we're talking about that one in New Canaan, the mid-century modern we talked about just a little while ago. So when I took over that listing and when Birgit went in there, I don't know if she remembers this, but they had green cabinets.
I do. I do remember it.
And I think the sellers read somewhere in a magazine that green was coming back, but not that green, right?
No, not on kitchen cabinets like that.
So they actually ended up painting the kitchen cabinets white, changing the hardware. They did the quartz countertop, if you remember, with the gray streaking, right? That everybody does, and they did a tile backsplash, white subway tile backsplash, and
a new refrigerator, I think.
And a new refrigerator, and that made all the difference.
Yes.
Yeah, because like you said before, people can say, I can live with this for a while because it's not terrible and it's pretty updated, and if I want to make a change and do more of a higher end product, right, I can do that.
And this particular kitchen, that really looked like a brand new kitchen.
It was. I mean, I wouldn't have, if I bought that house, I wouldn't have done anything to it.
Yeah.
All right, so now the $1,000,000 question. I know I'm your favorite agent, right? But having worked closely with many agents, because Birgit is the go-to premier home stager in Fairfield County and Westchester County too.
Yes.
What do the best agents do differently when it comes to integrating staging in their overall marketing strategy?
The best ones, they don't even think about staging once. They just have it as part of their strategy, regardless of who the seller is. It is always part of their marketing plan. It's part of the listing presentation. It's part of their whatever they're doing and consulting their clients on. They include staging into it.
So I'm doing that right.
I guess
That's part of my 3-point marketing blueprint when I go and talk to sellers, right?
Yeah.
Staging is like one of the most important things. I know everybody wants to know about price. Well, I can't give you a price until we know what you need to do to your house, because staging is going to have an impact on pricing, and so is making maybe some upgrades that might need to be made, like painting green cabinets white in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Right?
So we had a realtor, like, she really said, like, to their clients, she said, like, you can sell the house, I can list it for this, but if you do the staging, then I sell it for that. Mm-hmm. I can put it on the market for that. So the clients went for the staging option. The house sold for $250,000 above asking.
Yep, and that's what it is,
like,
right?
It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. It's all about buyer emotion, right? And that's what I think Birgit does best, and that's what she captures in her staging technique, is buyer emotion.
Yeah. Well, it's all science that goes into it. Mm-hmm. Like, most people think like staging is just making a space look pretty.
It's not.
No, it's
There's
not.
more to it.
There's more to it. And so really only the best stagers understand that. There are so many stagers out there who don't have the education about not even the basic staging, because it is they think they can decorate and they can go in and say, oh, I'm a stager. Sometimes it's even interior designers who think they can do staging, but have never had any education about staging. So they don't understand the difference. But my company, like, we are always on a continuous education loop. We never stop learning how we can improve our process. How can we keep and get this better and better and better and get better results for our clients. And there is a lot of neuroscience that goes into it. It goes buyer behavioral science that goes into it. And that translating that into our staging designs. We have developed our own proprietary system called NeuroLure, and that is specifically targeting neuroscience and incorporating that into our staging approaches.
Amazing. I love it. This is great. This has been fantastic. I've enjoyed having you here. Is there anything you want to, end on?
Well, you said I could ask you a question.
Oh, no. No, that's not true.
Yes, you said.
All right, fine.
So, don't get nervous.
I'm not nervous. Do I look nervous? I don't look nervous.
So, how do you personally approach the conversation of staging with your clients?
Yeah, that's a very thought-provoking question. It's different for every property and for every client. It's really about understanding the client and their motivation, and the property and the location. They say the three most important things in real estate are location, location, location. Mm-hmm. So with this last house, that happened to be on a very busy road with high traffic area, and that was just, the conversation was, we need to take people's mind off of the location, right? If we want to achieve a certain number. So when we were talking, and I met some family, and there were a lot of locals. It's a local family that's lived here for a long time, and when we told them kind of the strategy, my client's brother didn't believe. He's like, well, I wouldn't have done anything. I would just list a house at X and be done with it. But my client understood that if we did what you were recommending, and then, adding the staging, and then with my marketing, that we were going to get well above and beyond what they could have possibly gotten if they didn't do it. And we did, right? And it broke, for me, I think it was a number that we achieved that I didn't think we were going to hit. And we exceeded the number that I thought we were going to hit. So that's great. So for me, that's a win. Client was happy. Birgit was happy. And she has another a win under her belt. But now, I go in, when I consult clients about staging, to answer your question, I go in with stats. I started this podcast with, out of the 6 stages I've done with Birgit over the last couple of years, we're at $72,000 over asking. So what I tell sellers is, your first price reduction is going to be more expensive than, what it's going to cost to stage a house.
That's a very, very good way of putting it.
Yeah, and not to be negative about it, but, if they're not listening to the positives, because we're like I think it's negative by nature, then I bring in the negative. I say, well, would you rather spend $10,000 to get $50,000 more, or are we going to, price reduce your house by $50,000 when it doesn't sell? And and I think that makes them think about it in a different way.
Yeah.
So I have the confidence now because I have the stats and the results behind me to talk about the staging and what the impact could be on the end product, right? On the end process, which is the closing, right? The goal is to get to the closing table as quickly as possible with as few headaches as possible for the sellers and make them the most amount of money. That's it.
Yeah.
This is Ted Sibilia here with Keller Williams. This is TedTalk podcast. Thanks for listening. And, again, with Birgit Anich of BA Staging and Interiors, a multiple award-winning, I was going to say actress, but yes, she kind of, she does look like an actress, right?
I'm the stage designer. I'm behind the scenes.
You were like a big time actress in Austria, right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
No. Anyway, so Birgit's the best in the business, and I enjoyed this conversation, and hopefully, y'all take something away from this.
Thank you so much for having me, Ted. It was so much fun with you.
Awesome.
And we'll see you on the next one.
Now we eat.
Oh, yes. The walnuts.